Hi guys, welcome to another video. Hope you're all having a good 2023 so far. Okay, so what I'm going to do for this video, I'm going to show you 10 horror movies from my own personal collection, which I think have a very, very high rewatchability factor. Okay, so without further ado, let's just get straight into it. Okay, the first movie I'd like to show you is, it's an absolute classic. Absolutely love this movie. I first watched it when I was a kid, many years ago on our old black and white telly, and I instantly fell in love with this character, and that character is the Wolfman, played by the late great Lon Chaney Jr. I could sit here all afternoon, guys, uttering superlatives about how brilliant a performance Lon Chaney Jr. put into this role of the cursed Lawrence Talbot, who gets bitten by, a werewolf in the Welsh countryside while he's trying to save a girl from a savage attack by a werewolf, son of an old gypsy woman believer. And basically, once he's bitten, all hell breaks loose from that point. So many, as I say, excellent things about this movie. It's got atmosphere and bucket loads. Great supporting cast, particularly Claude Rains as Larry Talbot's father, and Believer, the old gypsy woman. Bela Lugosi plays a part as well as the werewolf responsible, for inflicting Talbot with the curse. But absolute classic of horror cinema. And this is a movie that should be in every horror fan's collection. The Wolfman, an absolutely brilliant, absolute masterpiece of horror. And Talbot, he did come back to life again in 4 more sequels, so utterly iconic character and one of Universal's greatest creation. That is the Wolfman. Never get tired of watching this movie, The Wolfman from 1941. Next up is an equally iconic Universal character. First watched this again, like I did with the Wolfman, way back in the late 60s as a kid on the old black and white telly, and again instantly fell in love with this monster. That's Boris Karloff's Frankenstein. This is actually the Legacy collection, because it's got the other Frankenstein movies on here as well. Frankenstein 31, of course, Bride of Frankenstein, Son of Frankenstein, Ghost of Frankenstein, Frankenstein meets the Wolfman, House of Frankenstein, House of Dracula, and Abbott and Costello meet Frankenstein. But yeah, guys, absolute classic, iconic monster of horror cinema. Boris Karloff, nobody can touch him when it comes to playing the Frankenstein monster. He was the best, beyond a shadow of a doubt. All the pathos he injected into the role, all the actions and that, you really felt, as well as, although, being scared of him, you also felt that degree of pity for him, because after all, he didn't want to be created, did he? He didn't want to be thrust into this world and that, So, as I say, when I first watched it, way back in the late 60s. This was the movie, guys, Frankenstein 1981, that made me a horror fan. I've said it before and I'll say it again. This was the movie that made me a horror fan. And of course, when I went on to see the other creatures Universal made, like the Wolfman, Dracula, the Invisible Man, I became a lifelong Universal Monsters fan. But yeah, an absolute masterpiece of horror cinema. That is Frankenstein from 1931. And to this day, I still never ever get tired of watching this absolute classic. So there you go, Frankenstein 1931, starring the late great Boris Karloff. Next up is moving on now, guys, to the early 70s and 1972. This is actually my all-time favourite horror anthology movie. I've lost count of the times I've watched this, I really have, and it's so good to have it in my collection. I do wish one day a company like Second Sight to do a lovely box set with loads of special features, because the one I've got here is very thin on the ground with special features. But the movie I am referring to stars Peter Cushing, Ralph Richardson, Joan Collins, and that is the classic anthology horror movie, Tales from the Crypt. What can I say about this anthology, guys? It hasn't been said many times before by amicus horror fans. All the stories are good, particularly sad as the one involving Peter Cushing, as Arthur Grimsdyke. Yeah, very sad, moving story, but boy, does he get his revenge in the end. Yeah. And then, of course, the one with the razor blades, the arrogant Sergeant Major in the old folks' home with the razor blades and that, fantastic, yeah. All great stories. There's not one single bad story in this, and I never get tired of watching it. And particularly the Santa Claus one, starring Joan Collins, I always love watching that around about Christmas time, absolutely fantastic movie, it really is. So there you go. That is Tales from the Crypt on 1972. Next up, guys, is an American movie. It's a supernatural movie that's actually based on the Japanese version. Very high rewatchability factor for this one as well, starring Naomi Watts, and that is The Ring. Again, absolutely love this movie. Very creepy story about this case videotape. If people watch it, they die after 7 days. Yeah, love the sequel as well. Wasn't too keen on the third one, but this is my favourite one, guys. This one, starring Naomi Watts. Yeah, great creepy story, and this character. Oh yeah, oh what an entity she is, you know. Yeah. So if you love your Japanese horror movies, you haven't got this in your collection, I highly recommend that you get yourself a copy. It's a fantastic movie, real dark atmosphere and great performances all around, especially by Naomi Watts, you know, as the main female protagonist. So there you go, that is The Ring. Next up is another great favourite of mine from the 1970s, starring one of my favourites, British actresses, Linda Hayden. Also stars Barry Andrews and Patrick Wymark. Never get tired of watching this movie. Great dark story, you know, a very creepy kind of a folk horror tale set in the English countryside, you know, around about the Middle Ages, and that is a movie called Blood on Satan's Claw. If you love your 70s horror movies, guys, you haven't got this in your collection, I highly recommend that you add it. You know, it's a fantastic movie, great story, great cast, and a great performance by Linda Hayden as a sinister Angel Blake. Fantastic ending as well. Never get tired of watching this movie. One of the best horror movies made of the 1970s, and that is The Blood on Satan's Claw. Next up is this is a favourite of mine from the late 60s. It's a kind of a comedy horror, very much in the style of the Hammer films, and with a little bit of American Werewolf in London thrown in. They got the balance of horror and comedy just right in this movie, in my opinion. And it stars the lovely Sharon Tate and her husband Roman Polanski, and that is The Fearless Vampire Killers. Great story, lovely snowy setting, and these two pair of hapless vampire hunters, you know, Roman Polanski and the old guy who accompanies him, and that. Oh yeah, they're absolute cases, they really are, you know. And the guy who plays the lead vampire, he's quite scary, you know. I think his name's Ferdy Mayne. Just check at the back. Ferdy Mayne, yeah. Alfie Bass is in it as well, yeah. Oh yeah, but lovely movie to watch, and that, you know, as I say, the snowy setting, the Gothic castle. When you're watching this movie, guys, you immediately think of Hammer horror, you know. But it's so well done, this movie, and Sharon Tate looks absolutely stunning in it, you know. She really does. And as I say, if you love your horror comedy movies, you know, especially from the 1960s, I highly recommend that you get yourself a copy. This movie has actually had quite a few titles. There's another title as well, The Dance of the Vampires, which was the title I first saw it on television. And there's another one, Pardon Me, But Your Teeth Are in My Neck. So there you go, a fantastic comedy horror vampire spoof. That is The Fearless Vampire Killers. Next up is another horror anthology. Now, not many of us might have heard this movie. It's quite a rare one. It's actually a TV movie. It's got 3 stories on it. Second Chance, No Such Thing as a Vampire, and the most scariest one of all, Bobby, and that is Dead of Night. Yeah, love that cover, guys. Yeah, this is one of my all-time favourite TV horror anthology movies. Yeah, got a great cast there. Yeah, Patrick McNee, fantastic. Yeah, Kerwin Matthews, Louis Edmonds. Yeah, fantastic. Yeah, Ed Begley Jr. So the one involving Bobby is really the one called Bobby is really terrifying. It's about this woman. She's lost her son in a drowning accident, and she tries to resurrect him by supernatural means. But she hears the knock on the door once she's done the ritual. I won't go on too much about it in case you haven't seen it. She hears the knock on the door one night, and that, you know, and it's a real dark and stormy night segment, and she thinks it's her son back from the dead because he's standing there all drenched and that, you know. But what she doesn't know is, well, I won't tell you what it is. I'll just let you see the movie yourself. But yeah, very high rewatchability factor. One of the best TV horror anthologies ever made. That is Dead of Night. Next up this is actually a 2-movie DVD that I bought from Amazon US a couple of years ago. I love both these movies, but my favourite movie of the two is The Shuttered Room, starring the lovely Carol Lindley. Yeah, and Oliver Reed. Yeah, oh yeah, fantastic movie, this guy. Well, it is as well, starring Roddy McDowall, but that's my favourite one, The Shuttered Room. And I hope one day one of the, the labels we release it on Blu-ray. It's a real creepy story and lovely scenery. Fantastic performances all around. Gig Young is in it as well. I say Carol Lindley. They play a couple eager to explore the long vacant New England mill house they inherited, disregarding the warnings of the creepy locals, and that plunges them into the mystery and madness of a shocker based on a story co-written by H.P. Lovecraft and August Left. I'll highly recommend The Shuttered Room, guys. It's a real, I enjoyed every minute of it. It's a fantastic movie, and it's very, very underrated in my opinion. Not many people know about it, but this is a good one as well. As I say, it's Roddy McDowall. He takes control of this sort of like statue and that, and he gets it to sort of like exact his revenge on people who's wronged him. So that's a good one as well, not to be confused by the Stephen King hit. Great little package of a double movie DVD here, guys. On the archive collection. But absolutely love The Shuttered Room. Watch it many times, and every time I watch it, I still derive much pleasure from it. So there you go. That is The Shuttered Room, and it's next up is going back to the 70s again, guys, and this has got to be in my top 5 of all-time favourite Amicus horror anthology movies. Stellar cast: Peter Cushing, Christopher Lee, John Pertwee, Ingrid Pitt, and that is the fantastic, utterly fantastic, The House That Dripped Blood. What can I say? What can I say about this movie, guys? Just like Tales from the Crypt, I could sit here all afternoon uttering superlatives of how well done and how creepy this movie is. Basically revolving around this old house and whoever takes her on, something happens to them, something horrific happens to them, and you get this inspector guy investigating, played by John Bennett, and got a great frame of story with the inspector, and all great stories. I particularly love the one with John Pertwee. He buys the vampire cloak and he turns into this vampire, as does Ingrid Pitt, his girl and that. But all great stories. And the one with Christopher Lee, where he has his daughter, the mother was a witch and that, and she has the voodoo doll. Great stories, as I say, and this is a fantastic edition, it really is, by Second Sight. You've got the booklet, guys. We've got to show you the booklets. I love The House of Drift Blood. It's one of my all-time favourites. Not just one of my all-time favourites portmanteau movies, but one of my all-time favourites horror movies. Never get tired of watching this Christopher Lee there in the voodoo story. Still miss him to this day. Fantastic actor. Nobody can play Dracula like Christopher Lee. Awesome Amicus portmanteau. There's Ingrid Pitt. Awesome Amicus horror portmanteau movie. There he is, John Pertwee, donning the notorious vampire cloak. But fantastic. One of Amicus's best, in my opinion. Made in 1971. High rewatchability factor again, and that is The House That Dripped Blood. And last but by no means least, guys, now this is quite a rare one. Again, not many of us might have seen this one. I knew nothing about it when I first saw it on Amazon Prime. I thought I'll have to check that out, and I enjoyed it that much I decided to add it to my collection, and that is a movie called The Hellion. I'll just read you the back of it, guys, just to give an idea of the story. It's a very brutally disturbing movie in one of the most intense and unnerving British horrors of recent years. 3 friends head off for a drunken weekend away, only to be imprisoned on the top floor of their apartment by a malevolent paranormal force. Unable to contact the outside world, they are at the mercy of the insidious presence, which grows ever more terrifying. As paranoia sets in, they no longer know what is real and begin to turn on each other. Very much along the lines of The Shining. It's got that creepy, claustrophobic atmosphere, shut in like, the top of this apartment block and that. And very creepy story. Great solid acting, and highly recommend it. If you like movies with this, as I say, this very closed in setting, claustrophobic setting, an ominous all round. I highly recommend you either rent or get yourself a copy of The Hellion. It's one of the finest British horror movies, finest modern British horror movies I've ever seen, and with a great rewatchability factor. Okay then, guys, that concludes my video of 10 movies from my collection, which have a very high rewatchability factor. Have you got Have you got 10 movies in your collection which have a very high rewatchability factor? Yeah, leave your list down below. I'd be very interested to, have a look at your selections and that. Of course, there's many, many more in the ever-growing horror collection that have got a high rewatchability factor, but they're some of the main ones that I have watched many, many times, and that's not counting, of course, Christopher Lee's Dracula movies, especially Dracula has risen from the grave, and but oh yeah, all fantastic movies, and that's why they're staying in my collection for good. I only really buy movies, guys, real classics and that I know I'm going to watch again and again. Obviously, I do the odd blind buy now and again, but it's mainly I always look for movies like, well, I've got most of them now, my favourites and that, but as I said about the Shuttered Room, that definitely needs a Blu-ray release. So if there's any labels watching Arrow, Vinegar Syndrome, get the Shuttered Room out on Blu-ray. Yeah, fantastic horror movie. Very, very underrated in my opinion, yeah. Alright then, guys, I enjoyed doing this video, yeah. And as I say, I hope 2023 is going okay for you so far. And fingers crossed, we'll get some good, awesome horror releases out this year. Alright then, guys, that's it then. I'll be back very, very soon with another video. And the usual, if you like the video, please feel free to share, subscribe, comments. Take care, and I'll see you all very, very soon. Bye for now.